Hi, my name is Dave. I'm your host. You're listening to The Last Podcast, where the first shall be last and the last shall be first. Today, I want to talk about life, right? Sometimes life, or sometimes in our life, we might be faced with unforeseeable circumstances that overwhelms us or leaves us confused, lost, hopeless, or even bewildered. Lurking behind every curtain of action isn't that inevitable moment that we face, the moment of choice. What we choose to believe, think, or do about the circumstances that we might be facing in that moment of time. It will undoubtedly shape the road ahead for us. Sometimes we see thousands of frames a second and don't even know how to stop that roller coaster of waves of sadness, hopelessness, helplessness, those thoughts that are running through our brains. It's hard to capture the thoughts when it leads to the feeling like if you're drowning in a bed of quicksand and it feels like you're suffocating or gasping for air. What's happening in that moment? It's like you're watching a motion picture that the circumstances, whatever they might be, playing over and over in your head, like watching the same movie day after day, and it becomes part of your story that you infect yourself with, like a virus or a worm working through a computer system. But in this case, it's our brains and our bodies. Our computers or laptops have a set of parameters, protocols, anti-malware, antivirus software that protects our files and the baseline integrity of our computer system, right? And if you are working for a company, I do know that sometimes they put their employees through training on how not to click on email messages that can infect the entire system, compromising the integrity of the network and overall security, putting so much at risk for the company. Just from not paying attention and clicking on an unsolicited email. Now, I'm not going to go too deep into computer security, but sometimes the circumstances that we face can be heartbreak, danger, disappointment, etc. The flip side of that can be a positive feelings, and if that's okay if you're experiencing all that. But the negative ones are the silent, dangerous ones. And if we are faced with those, it can sometimes be hard to break free. And don't get me wrong, you could feel sad, angry, and disappointed at any time. But the reason why I make the contrast of a computer system is because sometimes our circumstance can make us feel a certain way. It can make us feel angry, sad, disappointed, and it's dangerous to wallow in that. And it's like infecting our mind and our body, because how do we get away from that fog of uncertainty or hopelessness or even despair? It's not easy. I know, I've been there. I've moved into the house of despair and hopelessness and didn't want to move out. I thought I deserved to live there. That's my own personal story. But the internal dialogue that I was telling myself, or that you might be telling yourself, it gets a whole lot deeper, don't it? I mean, we start saying to ourselves, how did this happen? That's a question, right? How? And then we start, we'll have an internal dialogue that might change everything for us, because if we have this internal dialogue that might be adding on to the negative feelings that we have because of a circumstance, sometimes we might get distorted just because of those circumstances. You might be facing whatever it is that circumstance, and then your feelings get distorted, your thoughts get distorted, and they start to amplify your self-doubt and all your shortcomings. Your feelings start to become heightened and your mind goes into overdrive. In a sense, it's like infecting your body. It's infecting your mind like a worm, a computer worm. It goes through slowly infecting everything. It's true. Circumstance can sometimes change you. It can change your beliefs. It could change your habits and the way you treat people in your relationships. And I'll give you a case in point. Do you know someone who was cheated on? Sometimes a person can be cheated on and it hurts them so deeply. What happens at that point is they take that hurt, they blow it, they magnify it, and they say, this will never happen to me again. Then they take that same hurt and carry it with them into the new relationship. And guess what? They look for evidence of the new person that's going to cheat on them or thinking they're going to cheat on them. And that might not even be the case, but they look for it, and then they start to find stuff that's not even there. They start to fabricate it in their mind, and then they start to sabotage their relationship. All because they were cheated on some time ago. And over a period of time, they start living this way, and it becomes part of their identity. That's what I mean, that sometimes the circumstance that we face can sometimes change us. Sometimes change our beliefs, our habits, and the way we treat our relationships or the people in our relationships. I'm only bringing this up because it matters. There's so many people who are going through so many different situations in life, so many different circumstances in life, and some people don't see a way out. Some people are looking for light in total darkness and not getting a glimmer of hope or even a smidget of light. So what happens? How do we move forward? How do we find hope in a moment of hopelessness? How do we find that we can carry on when we are faced with, there is no hope for me. I am not worthy to live. I am not worthy to have or find love. When we are going through those things, or when we are living a life and we can't see past the circumstance, I believe that everybody has their own road to recovery, no matter what your circumstances frame, because they're not you. They can't know how deeply your circumstances has affected you. But I also want to give you this. What you're feeling is due to how that circumstance has affected you, right? So it's what you're thinking about that circumstance and what you are attaching a meaning to that circumstance. I can offer you nothing but this. Sometimes we have a thought. Sometimes that thought plays over and over and over in our head, and we keep that thought. And sometimes we can change those thoughts. So if you are thinking about something that hurt you so deeply, ask yourself this: how long do I want to feel this way? What would be a good time frame for me? Not what everybody else thinks, but what would be a good time frame for me to either grieve, to either go through my pain, my hurt, or whatever, and say, I'm going to allow myself to feel this wholly and fully. Because I believe if we try to act like or resist the feeling, then it stays with us longer. But when we can accept and hold and feel and say, how long do I want to feel this way? Now I'm giving myself a time frame. And then when that time is up, what do I want to do? How do I want to feel? How can I move forward? How can I change? How can I move past this? I don't know how to tell you to do that, but I can only tell you this. Sometimes you have to talk to someone. And it may not have to be anyone you know. Sometimes you have to talk to somebody who might understand or gone through something that was so heart-wrenching that they may not understand what you're going through. But by them telling and sharing their story with you and you sharing your story with them, you'll have a feeling that you're not alone, and that someone else has gone through something so heart-wrenching to them, and it took them a little time to get through to the other side and walk from darkness to light, that I, too, might be able to see the light to a road of recovery somewhere in the future. How long? What do I feel? And if you can write out how you feel about your circumstance, and then no editing or anything, just write cold and write thoroughly, and just keep writing. Don't stop writing until you have no more thoughts about it left, and then put it to the side and come back the following day and read it and say to yourself, how can I move forward with this circumstance, understanding that I can move past this? I'm not going to forget it. I'm not going to forget the person, but how could I take and extrapolate all the joy and leave the pain behind? And if it's not about loss of a loved one, person, pet, or anything like that, it could be about a situation. I went for this job, but I didn't get it. Write about that. What went wrong? Figure that out first. If anything went wrong, it could have been nothing that went wrong. It just meant that you were not for that position at that time. Or you might have something better coming along. And if you would have took that position, you wouldn't have had something better coming along. You would have missed out on that. Hey, I believe that sometimes things happen for a reason. I mean, you may not believe it, but I do. And I was telling a story today of how me and my family moved to Texas. And when you think about all the things that had to fall in place on how we moved here, you had to say, wow, that was supernatural. That just didn't happen. That was supernatural. And then all the events that happened after that, and how we moved back to Pennsylvania and then moved back to Texas, that was divine energy right there. It was as if, okay, we need you to go to Texas because of this. Oh, now this circumstance happened. You got to go back to Pennsylvania because of this. And you're following through. You're going through the motions. And now, okay, this circumstance is over. I need you to go back to Texas. Boom. You're here for a reason. You're here for a purpose. Whatever your circumstance is, how can I move forward? Because you're still here for a reason. You're still here for a purpose. You still got something left to do. What is it? Questions. Start asking, but get a notebook, or if you have a laptop, open up your laptop, make a file, and entitle that file Me, or the new me, or leaving the old me behind, or Me 2.0, and start writing. Because you want to tell your own story. You want to be able to see all the events that led up to where you are now. And some of them would be bad, some of them not so good, but some of them might be great. See if you can extrapolate the lessons in your own life and see where you need to be now and where you need to be in a year from now, 5 or 10 or 20 years from now. Because it's your life, it's your story, and you can get past your circumstance. That's all I want you to really gather from this. Your circumstances do not define you. You can get past your circumstance. But you got to be willing to do the work. You got to be willing to say, I can do anything through Christ who strengthens me. And if you're a believer, then you know you can do anything through Christ. Me, I'm a believer, but that's my own belief. You can believe in anything that you want, and it's okay, because we're all different. We're all different, and that's what makes us so uniquely divine, because we are uniquely us. So whatever your circumstance is, you can get past it. It may take a little pain. It may take a little time, but you can get past it. Hey, my name is Dave. You're listening to The Last Podcast. Don't forget, I'll have a new poem for you on Friday. And thank you for listening. Be blessed. Bye-bye.